If you're seeing this, that means that we made it through April. Yes, that was no easy feat. So we're talking about April favorites, my April favorites, the books that I did like in April. So the first book is actually a book that I got for my birthday from my daughter, and it was so cute how it arrived. It was from an Etsy shop. I will link it down below if I can go back through our purchases and find out which one it was, but it came wrapped up and it was a mystery book, so she didn't even know what she was getting me. And the way that you chose which book they would send you was based on what Hogwarts house you're in. So I'm a Gryffindor, and it came in the cutest little like craft packaging. It was like all folded, all fancy, and it had cute little like Gryffindor-esque stickers and things on it. I tried to save the wrapping, but it just did not save. So I did recycle that. But the book, and I was really surprised because my daughter did not choose this. She has no idea that I like this author. But yeah, so I got the Keeper of Enchanted Rooms by Charlie N. Holmberg, and I was like, yeah, sure, okay. And then I saw who the author was. I'm like, oh my gosh, I really like her. So that was a bit fortuitous, which was a great, great surprise. And I read it and I loved it. Like I said, I already enjoy Charlie N. Holmberg as an author. Yeah, this was a beautiful story. It takes place in, let's see, 1840s, like mid 1840s, on a secluded island in a bay off of Rhode Island. And in this world, there is magic. But not everyone has magic, and magic has been dwindling out over the centuries. But there are some people who do have it, and there are even houses that have magic in them. And there is an institute whose job it is to preserve and also diagnose houses with magic or buildings with magic, so it might not just be a house. And yeah, so it follows the story of a woman named Hulda, who is assigned to a house on this very like isolated island on the bay of Rhode Island. And she meets this young man who has inherited this house just recently, and this house is crazy, it's wild, it's doing like all sorts of things, definitely has a mind of its own, and it sort of follows their story of learning about this house, learning about the history of the house, and then you also find out why this man came to inherit the house, because he has no idea. All he thinks is that his grandmother who gave it to him in her will won it in a game of cards, and it just seems really strange. But you find out that he actually does have some familial connection to the house. It's just a really great fun read, and I was very, very happy to get that. So going along with that, I continued on. It's a series. I went ahead and read book number 2, Heir of Uncertain Magic, also by Charlie N. Holmberg. It's a series, if that makes sense. And the series name, in case you're trying to find it that way, is the Wimbrel House series. And there's 3 books. I have just requested the 3rd book from the library, so I'm hoping to get it here soon. I didn't realize that. Otherwise, I would have requested 2 and 3 at the same time. That's okay. But book number 2 follows along on that series, and you see more of their story play out, and there's a little bit more romance in this one, and I won't tell you who's involved. But yeah, I'm really very appreciative of Charlie Ann Holmberg's writing style. She does a lovely job of writing romance into her story. Very just like sweet little romance that, just makes you feel all cozy inside. And I also really love how she writes her male characters. The way that she writes her male characters is just, they're like little teddy bears almost, and you're just like, oh, you're so cute and sweet, and I just love you so much. Yes, so Wimbrel House series, hoping to add book number 3 if I do another favorites episode in May. I'm sure that one will be on that list. This one is we're going a little out of the realm of magic, and this is a book that I have seen recommended over and over again, especially here on YouTube, and I was a little unsure about it. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, sometimes I feel like recommendations via like YouTube or social media, if you're on social media, tend to get a little bit blown out of proportion sometimes. But this one did not disappoint. This one is The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow. And it was a really beautiful story about a Bennet sister that we don't see or hear or know much about in the Pride and Prejudice story. So it follows Mary Bennet. This one sort of explains, like, what could have been her story following, like, before, during, and after the Pride and Prejudice storyline. I was very surprised by this one as well. And I do love it, and I think it'll definitely be one that I add to my library whenever I get that going one day. I would definitely recommend The Other Bennet Sister. Going back into classics now, this is a classic that I feel really ashamed that I have never read until now. But Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. I've never read it before, and I finally read it, and I loved it. I keep saying that I was really surprised by these books, but I feel like I'm always surprised by books, to be honest, because, with a book, you have no idea if you're going to like it or not, how it's going to turn out when you start it. So yes, I feel like we should always be surprised by the endings of books and if we like them or not. But Anne of Green Gables, such a beautiful story. I think I knew, like, the basics of the Anne of Green Gables story, and I've watched Anne with an E, and I absolutely loved that. I did know a little bit going into that. But yes, that was a beautiful classics book that I'm really happy I finally read. I took the time to read and didn't just treat it like, oh, that's some little kid's book. And that is one of my goals this year, is to read more classics throughout my usual picks of, like, fiction that's fantasy or like sci-fi or romance or whatever that might be. The next book that I really loved in April was Belgravia. And yeah, if you are a fan of Downton Abbey or Bridgerton, then you're going to like Belgravia. It's a really fun story about the upper crust of London society during the same time period as when, like, Bridgerton happened, so early 1800s. And it follows a story of two families, well, a little more than two families, like two broad families. And one family is an upper middle class merchant family who have sort of clawed their way up the social ladder. And the other is a well-established family of nobility. And it tells a story about how these two families are connected and just sort of the drama that plays out during that discovery of connection. And yes, so if you love history, if you love especially, like, historical drama, then that's a great one to add to your reading list. And the last book for my favorites in April is Kingdom of Ash from the Throne of Glass series. And it is the final book in this series. And it took me a long time to finish this series just because I was waiting like on my library to send me copies or to get ebooks through the library as well. And it's one series that I really did like it, but I wish I would have read it closer together. I think it would have made a lot more sense. There's a lot of times where I'm like, wait, what's happening? Wait, when did that happen? And I really needed to, like, be able to remind myself a lot of what was going on and sort of, like, the different storylines that spread out over several books. But I really did enjoy the ending of that series. And I know some people are a little like, about Throne of Glass, but it was a series that I really enjoyed. But so that is books. I hope that your April has been delightful. And I hope that you have also found some new favorites to add into your life and into your repertoire. Those are my April favorites. Bye.